Ha! You guys are in for a treat. My favorite topic in the world. The art of the mistake. Because you know you gotta love to make some mistakes. Fuck yourself up. Fuck yourself up good. That's good. Needless to say, I've fucked up my life plenty, and it's spectacular. It's beautiful. You'd have a good laugh if you knew even a fraction of it. So, mistakes. We all make them. The more the merrier, and they always suck. The good news are that we've survived all of ours so far. We haven't died while pulling some Darwin Award worthy stunt yet. We might at some point, but let's try to avoid that, shall we? Also, let's make our mistakes count. Granted, sometimes we need to make the same mistake over and over again, in more spectacular ways each time, just to learn the damn lesson in a way that sticks. But it is what it is. We're pretty damn stupid for a species that calls itself sapiens. And perhaps the Nomer suggests that we think a bit too highly of ourselves. Or perhaps it's there to inspire us to spend our entire lives hopelessly striving to become something worthy of the damn label. Topic for another time. The inevitable byproduct of a whole bunch of somewhat silly humans venturing out into the world each day making loads of mistakes is that we all pay a price not only for our own mistakes, but the mistakes of other people as well. It's a damn aggregate. And we need to be very careful not to put ourselves and each other en masse down into the abyss. We seem to too readily reward destructive behavior, and maybe that is a collective flaw, but it's hard to get rid of because we can't really see how and where the price for that is truly being paid. Further, it's not a particularly popular topic to address. Our sole hope is honest introspection, and lots of it. Constantly looking back to analyze things, even when it hurts and we don't want to relive it. See, where the mistakes. Sorry. Start that entire paragraph. Tore it apart. Our sole hope is honest introspection, and lots of it. Constantly looking back to analyze things, even when it hurts and we don't want to relive it. See where the mistakes are on our end and where they might be on everyone else's end. The more lessons we can take away from every event that impacts our lives, the better off we'll be. And the more we can write things off as an educational cost, the less we need to write off as pure loss. Even if you're losing a lot in life, as long as you're also learning a lot, your future self might be gaining big time. You just don't know it yet. But whether or not that is the case is going to come down to your capacity and will to mobilize it, put it to work and to use. There should be some comfort in the fact that even if you wake up in your 40s having completely wrecked your entire life and the trail behind you consists of decades of utter chaos, failure, and repeated mistakes, there's an ocean of value to that. And simply sharing that might be enough to provide you with a decent remainder. Just imagine the potential for bestseller book titles like How to Fail Spectacularly at Life, 101 Mistakes I Made So You Don't Have to, and Had It All and Lost It All, and so forth and so on. Even if solely for the purpose of a sinister laugh, it's easy to see a multitude of reasons for why someone would buy these titles. There are so many ways in which you can monetize the suffering in your life. You can either blame the world and go out on the activist trail, or you could humble yourself to reality and learn from it. The latter one will bring a lot more good and a lot more value to the world at large. If you become the sort of person you wish you had had to learn from before you went out and lived the carnage that became your life, then you can trust that someone coming up behind you will want to learn from you. If you haven't started this process, start it right now. Reflect back on every bit of your life and look for clues. Ask the people who've been a part of certain parts of your life or your whole life. Even consider reaching out to people you had a falling out with if you suspect that maybe something may have been on your end that you weren't aware of. Get every bit of lessons from your past, reconcile with it, humble yourself to the reality of it, and tell yourself that you're going to turn all of this into strength and into gain. This is not only going to teach you a lot about yourself and give you a bit more of a realistic sense of yourself, but it's also going to help you to be picky about certain things in your life. And about certain things in your life, and thus more efficient. You see, what if there is a way to be smarter about which battles to pick in life, and what risks to take, and why? Even pick the mistakes we're willing to potentially make. There will always be mistakes we couldn't have anticipated, but to some degree, we can develop a sense of them and either actively decide to take the risk or opt out at first sign of things potentially not being all of what we'd want them to be. This will also make us a lot better at recognizing when others are making mistakes and thus act accordingly. As far as identifying the mistakes others are making or about to make, we need to accept the fact that there will always be bias. We ourselves are biased, and so are they. But chances are, if you have a lot of experience with people and a lot of experience in making mistakes and messing up your own life, that you'll be right when you identify a person to be on a collision path. And whether you're right or wrong, the fact that they might be is very unsettling, especially if you care about them. Although it might be hard to take the fact that someone is inflicting harm upon you, it is something you just have to accept, if in doing so they are doing right by themselves in their own life. You might need to revisit the value you're bringing and see where you may have come up short. But if you firmly believe someone to be making a spectacular mistake in regard to their own life, and no amount of pointing it out will ever suffice, you need to just back off and get the heck out of Dodge. Perhaps that person hasn't made enough mistakes to start humbling themselves and really learn the greatest lessons, and there will never be anything you can ever do to change that. It hurts like hell when you truly care, but it's reality. The best you can ever hope for is that they'll be able to redeem themselves for whatever they have yet to put themselves through, and that they won't lose themselves in the process. You might not want to stick around to observe all of that unfold, and sometimes letting them just venture off on their own is precisely the one right thing you can do. Well, you see, there's history here. There's a relationship with this stuff on my end. It came out of somewhere, and there are people are up to, you know. Oh well, yeah. There's a so this will also give you space to make sure that you are at your strongest in the event that these people venture back at some point with their tail tucked between their legs and you still care 2 cents to let them back in. But the bottom line is never ever reward anything that you have a reason to believe to be wrong. If we incentivize and reward mistakes and wrongdoings, we're never selecting for growth and excellence in the world or in ourselves. Guilt is a powerful force in regard to mistakes. It's a force so strong that it can either put us into our graves or guide us onto a path wherein we realize the best versions of ourselves we've ever seen and ever been. Sometimes our only hope is our own guilt or the guilt of others. Some people seem to lack any and all capacity for guilt. which can either be out of a lack of remorse or simply because they don't believe themselves to be in the wrong. They might be right, or you might be right, but time alone can tell, even though it seldom truly does. Anyways, take the lessons. Turn making mistakes into an art form, one that you practice humbly and gracefully. Make sure to become someone who thanks themselves for the pain they put themselves through someday.